Imagine a quiet room. Not in a distant sci-fi future, but one just around the corner. A couple sits before a screen, a genetic counselor beside them. On the display isn't an ultrasound image, but a menu. A list of traits and predispositions. They have the power not just to conceive a child, but to compose one. They can dial down the risk for heart disease. They can eliminate the gene for cystic fibrosis. Perhaps they can select for height. Perhaps they can select for hair color. This isn't a fantasy, it's the precipice upon which our species now stands. We have decoded the book of life. Now, we are learning how to write in its margins. The question is no longer can we, but should we? The very idea sends a shiver down the spine, a mix of exhilaration and dread. We, the descendants of Stardust, have achieved a level of control over our own biology that was once the exclusive domain of gods and myths. For millennia, the genetic lottery was absolute. You were dealt a hand of DNA from your ancestors, and you played it as best you could. Now the casino is offering us a chance to peek at the cards before the deal. We can stack the deck in our favor, or in favor of our children. Why is this technology so alluring? The answer is simple and deeply human. It speaks to our most fundamental instincts, to protect our children, to give them the best possible start in life. Consider the immense burden of genetic disease. A single misplaced letter in our 3 billion letter genetic code can lead to a lifetime of suffering. Huntington's disease, Tay-Sachs, sickle cell anemia. The prospect of being able to find that single error in an embryo and correct it, to simply erase the disease before it ever has a chance to manifest, is profoundly compelling. It's not about creating a Superman, it's about preventing suffering. What parent doesn't want their child to be healthy, intelligent, successful? If you could give your child a stronger immune system, would you? If you could enhance their memory or their ability to process complex information, wouldn't that be a gift? To understand the pull of genetic engineering, we must move beyond abstract debate and listen to the real stories. Think of a family I once read about. Let's call them the Millers. For 3 generations, the men in their family had been struck down in their prime by Huntington's disease. It's a cruel, relentless neurodegenerative disorder. It slowly unravels the mind and body, a genetic time bomb with a guaranteed devastating outcome. The son, watching his own father fade away, knew he had a 50-50 chance of carrying the same faulty gene. The thought of passing that coin flip of a curse to his own child was an unbearable weight. For couples like the Millers, pre-implantation genetic diagnosis is already a reality. This technology allows them to screen embryos and select one that is free from the Huntington's gene. It is a desperate, loving attempt to sever a lineage of suffering. For every promise of a cure, there is a corresponding peril. The most immediate concern is the creation of a new and insidious social hierarchy. We live in a world already fractured by wealth and opportunity. What happens when we add a biological dimension to that divide? Imagine a future where the affluent can afford to purchase genetic advantages for their children. Enhanced intelligence, improved physical prowess, resistance to disease, while the rest of humanity cannot. The pressure on parents could become immense. Now imagine a world where genetic enhancement is a common option. The pressure to give your child every advantage would take on a terrifying new meaning. Then there is the profound risk of losing the very thing that makes our species so resilient, human diversity. If we begin to select for a narrow range of desirable traits, we risk homogenizing our gene pool. The human genome is not a simple instruction manual where one gene corresponds to one trait. It is a fantastically complex, interwoven network of information. A single gene can influence multiple, seemingly unrelated characteristics. The tools we have, like CRISPR-Cas9, are powerful, but they are not yet perfect. Off-target effects are a major concern. This is where the gene editing machinery makes a cut in the wrong place in the genome, creating an accidental mutation. Making that mistake in an embryo is another entirely, as that error would be replicated in every single cell of the resulting person's body. We would not just be experimenting on a single individual. We would be experimenting on the entire human lineage that follows them. A mistake made in a lab in 2025 could echo through the human gene pool for millennia. We would be making irreversible changes to the blueprint of our species based on our current, limited understanding. The debate over human engineering often crystallizes around one critical boundary, the human germline. Modifying somatic cells is gene therapy, but altering the germline is the biological equivalent of crossing the Rubicon, a point of no return for the human species. From a religious perspective, it is often seen as playing God. Many faiths hold that human life is sacred, a gift from a divine creator. To rewrite it to our own specifications is viewed as an act of profound hubris. Philosophers echo this concern in secular terms, speaking of the givenness of life. They argue that part of what makes us human is that we accept our children as gifts, not as products to be designed and perfected. We are making permanent decisions for future generations who have no say in the matter. They cannot consent to the genetic alterations we bequeath to them. We are appointing ourselves as architects of the future of our species, a role for which we are woefully unqualified. If we push past the ethical objections and this technology becomes available, a stark question of justice and fairness immediately arises. Who will have access to it? Genetic engineering procedures will be extraordinarily expensive. Imagine a world split into two distinct tiers. In the privileged nations, children are born free of genetic diseases and even enhanced. Meanwhile, in poorer communities, children continue to be born subject to the genetic lottery, burdened by diseases the wealthy have eliminated. This would exacerbate global inequality to a degree never before seen in human history. The gap would not just be in wealth, lifespan, health, and fundamental capabilities, it would write injustice into our biological code. This potential for a genetic schism necessitates a global conversation about regulation. Could international treaties govern this technology? The challenge would be enforcement. What's to stop genetic tourism for the global elite? We find ourselves at a moment of profound significance, not just for our generation but for all generations to come. The power to edit the human genome forces us to confront the deepest questions of all. What does it mean to be human? The central ethical dilemma hinges on the balance between compassion and caution. On one side, the desire to alleviate suffering, on the other side, immense unknown risks, creating new social divisions, the irreversible nature of germline changes. This is not a decision for scientists in labs or corporations seeking profit. It is a conversation that belongs to all of us. We need to foster a global dialogue that is informed, thoughtful, and inclusive. Ultimately, we are the universe made conscious. Now, for the first time, we are the means by which the cosmos can rewrite itself. The story of humanity is written in the stars. The next chapter is one we must write ourselves. Let us hope we choose our words carefully. The future is listening.